Good evening, everybody. Everyone's just connecting up now, I think. You're very welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's just give it another 30 seconds for everyone's cameras to connect and whatnot, and then we'll fully get going. This is great. Excellent. Right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. We're sat here 9 days away from Christmas. Some of us in tier 2, some of us in tier 3. Indeed, there's my cat. Indeed, some of you may even be joining us from tier 1. If so, on behalf of all of us in tier 3, I think you should go down the pub just for us. So you're very welcome for tonight. We are joined by two of the great voices in broadcasting over the last 20 to 30 years, and two people who've had excellent playing careers. And whilst you would not describe them as, sorry, this cat is all over the place, whilst you would not describe them as necessarily people they've never played for Surrey, but they certainly have their opinions on Surrey, and they're two obviously the most widely loved voices there are around. We've joined by from the Guardian and the Observer and Test Match Special and many excellent books, Vic Marks, and from Sky Sports, by way of being a former England coach, Lancashire County Cricket Club, and many other things, and also the author of a number of other excellent books. We have David Lloyd, Bumble. Welcome, guys. Thank you very much for joining us and giving up your time.
Thank you. Hello, John. Hello, everyone.
So I've got some questions that I've been wanting to ask. There's some that have been sent in via email, but equally, please do use the chat function. If there's anything you want to specifically you want to ask, tap that in there, and we will we'll make sure we get all that asked. Bumble, I'll start with you as a first question. I want to cast your mind back to the very midst of time, and tell me, what is the best game you ever played in at the Oval?
Ooh, best game I played in at the Oval.
That's
I played
right,
in a bizarre game at the Oval when I was actually playing at Lord. Are you there, John?
I'm here, mate. Yes.
Beam me up.
We're having some.
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah, but it keeps breaking up a little.
Yeah. Can everyone hear?
Yeah.
Give us a thumbs up if you can all hear Bumble. Right. Okay. There's a few thumbs down there, Bumble. So it's halfway in the middle. Are you give it a try, Bumble? Let's talk about your best game at the Oval.
I've done 1,000,001 of these Zoom meetings, but this one keeps breaking up for some reason. So we'll kick on. Most memorable game at the Oval. There are many, and you're right. Victor and I are here to put the record straight about the Oval and the cricketers that play there. Very vocal. They've got plenty to say. Great bunch of blokes. But I played a bizarre game, and it was for England actually. Against Pakistan, I was actually playing a county game at Lord's, and England fell one short. There was somebody got ill or got injured for a one-day international at the Oval, and I was out to the Lord's game. I think it was Charlie Elliott. I was pulled out of the game, and opened the batting in this game with the words ringing in my ear from Charlie Elliott: it doesn't matter how many you get, if you get 100 or 150, you're not playing in the next game. I thought that was quite bizarre. It really put me out, but I think it was, somebody will have to look at this, it's a long time ago. I think that was David Gower's first game for England. It might have been 1980, something like that. But I found it bizarre that, get me in. I want to open the batting again. But it don't matter how many you get, because you drop for the next game.
And how many did you get?
12.
And you were dropped.
Victor, I'm
It
gonna
was in the
ask you,
70s. It had to be in the 70s.
But there's a tiny little opening partner was actually my Lancashire opening partner, Barry Wood, and he got out cheaply. He didn't get very many, and Gower came in at 3. And he's a fantastic lad, Barry Wood, very eccentric lad, very Yorkshire lad. And David Gower came in and played sublimely. And Barry Wood turned to me as we both got out and said, "He's getting our runs out there." That's what I like, team spirit.
getting our runs. Victor, I'm going to ask you the same question. Cast your mind back. The finest, most memorable game you played in at the Oval.
At the Oval? Well, I mean, I really like a lot of Surrey cricketers. I'm just trying to... And do you know who my favourite is?
Go on, but who's your favourite? Do tell.
Jamie Overton.
Well, that is on my list of things I want to ask you about, Mr. Overton. Yeah.
Well, the great thing about playing Surrey in that era, and Bumble, I'm sure, will agree, is that we had the opportunity to face Sylvester Clarke, which was just such a lovely challenge, really. And we used to look at our diaries every April and see where we were playing the Oval. And could we possibly get a hamstring injury for that game? Because we didn't fancy facing Sylvester a great deal. But I do remember turning up there. Is actually Steve Waugh, I think, was playing for us. He got 100.
Yes.
But the bit I remember most of all was that at that stage in our Somerset life, Brian Rose, who hated facing Sylvester Clarke more than any other bowler in the world, he always hit Brian Rose. Brian Rose was there. In fact, he was our sort of manager at the time, cricket development officer, wasn't playing. But Clarke saw Rosie and thought, "Oh, fantastic, another wicket. I always get him. I usually hit him first and then I get him out." And we were batting and we batted away. And Sylvester was sweating and he was bowling his heart out and he was getting his wickets. And he got so many wickets, it's time for me to go in. And I go in there and he turns to me, he says, "Where's Rosie?" He said, "Where's Rosie? I've been waiting for you all day." So there's him, and there is one I preferred facing, but who was very, very good. And you always discover that when they got away from the Oval, they were actually, some of them, really quite nice. And I always think of Jackers. I remember Ian Botham, when he was captain of England, and he was going to the West Indies, and he came back from the selection meeting to pick the tour party. And he said, "I didn't quite get everyone I wanted." Jackers has got 127 wickets that summer. He said, "I didn't quite get everyone I wanted into the team, but that bastard Jackman's not playing, not going." And then, of course, Jackman went out to the West Indies as a replacement for Bob Willis. And to be fair to Both, and indeed Jackers, Both said, "I got him wrong, completely wrong. He's a great bloke. I love him." And they remained good friends thereafter.
Victor,
there you go.
Victor, you know the game that you mentioned with Steve Waugh at the Oval. Cast your mind. Can you remember who the umpire was?
Well, you weren't the umpire, were you?
Yes.
Really?
I umpired the game. I got in.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
Well,
Bumble's having some issues, some connectivity issues, I think.
Trouble with Peter Roebuck. I got in.
Well, Peter Roebuck was going berserk that game. He ran off. Go on.
Well, he was captain, I'm absolutely certain.
Oh, he was, definitely, yeah.
And it went from 1 to 5. 5, you've had an excellent game.
Yeah.
Going down, regressing down to 1, and it said that, was he dressed correctly? And Peter Roebuck gave me a 1, and you're dead right, he ran off the field of play. And this young chap came running on to me. I said, "Hello." I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm the 12th man." I said, well, who's gone off? I said, you can't have 12 on, you can only play with 11. He said, no, the captain's gone off. I said, well, he hasn't told me he's gone off, so you'll have to go off as well. And
do you know why he went off?
He's ran off, so you now got 10 alternate.
Yeah.
I
tell you why he went off.
Oh, well, he can come on then. And that's why.
He marked you down. Well, I mean, he was quite an eccentric cricketer in some ways. And the reason he ran off was that Surrey in the last innings had a sort of run chase. They bowled us out, but they didn't have much time, and they needed about 200 to 880 to win. And Pete, who was captain and feeling quite elevated, he dropped 3 catches in about 10 minutes. And he ran off the field, he said, to change his trousers, because he didn't have his fielding trousers on, which is why he dropped those 3 catches. Yeah. And in fact, while we're on it, that game, I remember it because it was Steve Wall we were getting used to.
Yes.
We were dropping catches left, right, and centre. And Steve Wall at that stage was very young. He never said a word, really, hardly said a word. But eventually, Pete put him on to bowl because everyone else was getting carted, and he started to pick up the odd wicket. We got back in the game. But another catch went down, and he just turned. For the first time he spoke, he said, "Oi, do you blokes want to save this game or not?" That's all he said all match. Having got a brilliant 100, actually. He came to Somerset partly to face these guys. He got 100 against Clark. He got 100 against Courtney Walsh. Ugly hundreds, but good ones.
He got 150 against Sylvester. And I think at the time he was playing Lancashire League cricket as a professional at the weekends and would play for you, Somerset, midweek.
That's right. Yeah. He was sort of a replacement for Martin Crowe, who got injured.
That's it.
Wow. That's a hell of a...
like Sylvester, off the field especially.
Great man. A great man, Sylvester. Wonderful man.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What do either of you have any good Sylvester Clark run-based stories?
Well, I can give you one easy one, actually, which was... this is where Beefy came into his own. Western Supermare. Beefy says to Sylvester, "You're coming with me tonight." They go from sponsor's tent to all these dives in Western. And to our huge gratitude, Sylvester Clark, he was not out overnight. He got hit by a vicious straight drive from Pat Pocock as a non-striker as he resumed his innings. And he spent the rest of the day groaning in the dressing room at Western Supermare, under the table, did not bowl a ball. That's my favourite Sylvester story.
So he got beefied, is what you're saying?
No. Well, he got beefied. Yeah. Beefy did us proud that day.
That's amazing. What about you? What about you, Bumble? Did you ever go toe to toe with your drinking boots on with Sylvester? Oh no. No, there's a few issues. There's a few issues here with Bumble. Vic, I'll go back to you. I'll go back to you whilst Bumble's sorting some issues out here.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, Bumble. I think Bumble's having doing some operating work there on the old iPad. So we'll see how we go there. Yeah, he's left, and then hopefully he can solve an issue or two, and then rejoin. So Vic, we'll carry on, and then hopefully Bumble will come back in a minute. Mm-hmm. Let's switch over to the modern age briefly. You mentioned at the start. I wondered how long it would be, and it wasn't long at all. Didn't take long at all for you to mention Jamie Overton. You've watched Jamie Overton probably far more than a lot of the Surrey members here. I imagine the Surrey members enjoyed watching him very much in the sort of final part of this season. But what's your take on him as a player, and what do you think his potential is?
Oh, and he's got huge potential. In fact, I hope he plays every game for England over the next 5 years. But his great obvious potential is the fact that he can, when he gets it right, he can bowl fast. He's got better too. He had a good season in 2019 where he also got a little bit more consistent. He had the capacity to just move it away a little bit. Real pace. The other peculiarity about those Overtons, both of them, you will find, and I don't really want to tell you this, but he'll tell you, is they are brilliant slip catchers. Both, even though they're 6'7" or 6'6", they've got great hands, both of them. And in the latter days at Somerset, you'd find Overton fielding at second slip to Overton, and if neither were bowling, they'd be at second and third slip, and they caught everything. He's also got a great eye. I mean, at Somerset, Craig was reckoned to be more the all-rounder with a slightly more normal technique, not quite so aggressive. But Jamie has got a great eye. He loves to hit the ball, but he's got the capacity to become a proper all-rounder. So there are many pluses. And what he's not been used to, one reason perhaps why he left Somerset, apart from, the never-ending reservoir of financial riches at the Oval, is that he's not had much experience with the new ball. At Somerset, he rarely took the new ball. In recent times, Craig's taken it with someone else. He has been effective, though, coming on after a dozen overs. So I think it's obviously a very good signing for Surrey. It's hard to see him go, but we sort of understand why. And I think that was one of the issues too, that Somerset didn't feel they could. You can't guarantee anyone, unless you're trying to prize them from another county. You cannot guarantee anyone you will take the new ball throughout the in-season, because stuff happens. And there are other guys with equally good reasons to have the new ball and to play every game. But I think he's a terrific signing. And when he gets it right, he can get the very best out. And he could easily, if he gets a good run, he could play for England for quite a long time, I think.
That's very thankful. Thanks for the that's a fascinating insight into Jamie. I think I've seen Bumbles rejoin, so let's just give this a bit of a test. Bumble, can you hear me? Come in, Bumble. Now, there's a possibility that Bumble might now have been mute. Yeah, hang on. There we go, Bumble. Can you just unmute yourself? There we go.
It's much better now, John. Much
brilliant.
better.
Yes. Can we all give us a thumbs up if you can get Bumble properly? Lovely. Right, good stuff. Okay, that's looking much better. So, Bumble, we'll go back just to what we were talking about prior. Vic's just given us excellent chapter and verse on Jamie Overton, which I think all the Surrey fans appreciate. But before we talked about Jamie, we were talking about Sylvester Clarke, and Vic told us an excellent story about Bumble and about Beefy and Sylvester Clarke in Weston-super-Mare. Do you have any good Sylvester Clarke drinking stories? I know that you like a drop every now and again.
No, he was just a terrific bowler. And I think that Sylvester played again in Northern League cricket. I think he played in the Bolton League, somewhere like that. But he reasoned, and a lot of fast bowlers can turn up at a pitch and think, well, there's nothing in it for me, and I'm just going to go through the motion. Sylvester Clarke, I'm not sure that, well, I know that he didn't like fielding. And he reasoned that the faster I get these out, the easier it is for me sat in the dressing room. And he was a 110%er all the time. And the other extraordinary thing that Victor will know also is that he didn't wear bowling boots. He was a colossus of a man. He was a big man, Sylvester Clarke. And he used to run up to bowl and never made a mark on the creases where the umpire stands. And he wore a pair of Patrick, I think they were called, Patrick batting shoes to bowl in. It was extraordinary. You see the fast bowlers now are really caring about the footwear. But Sylvester was such a big bloke, and he just run through. He just goes straight through his action with hardly any indentations on the creases.
So he wasn't creating footmarks with Pat Pocock then?
No, not really. No, I mean, you get that sort of thing through wear and tear. But you know, the other thing that Victor mentioned was, and I've made a list of people of note from Surrey County Cricket Club, and he mentioned Jackers. Jackers, him and I mean Jeff Arnold and Jackers. Your ears were burning when you'd gone out to bat. They're just incessant at you all the time. Jackers and Jeff Arnold. but brilliant people, fantastic people. And there'd be this dialogue. They'd have Cyril Rupert second slip, and he's joining in as well. This incessant noise is going on, and the dialogue between them. They were damn good lads to play against. I mean, Mickey Stewart is Mr. Surrey County Cricket Club, a fantastic man, Mickey Stewart. Alex Stewart, one of the greatest players England have ever had from Surrey. Mark Butcher, fantastic bloke, brilliant man. Mark Ramprakash found a home. He found a home at Surrey, did wonderful things. Wakar Yunis, overseas player. What a great man and world-class bowler. Percy, you've mentioned, he's another who never shuts up. And so...
Well, at least Percy wasn't abusing you, Gumbel. I'm sure Percy wasn't abusing you.
No, the rest of them were just abusing you from start to finish. And then we'd go into... I always remember at the end of the game, you're going to the tavern, the pub just there. And you'll never guess who I met in there and sat down and had a wonderful night with him. He's passed on now, Bill Owen from Last of the Summer Wine. He was... went and sat with Compo and had a great night with him. It was fabulous. And then I've got to tell you this, that when we used to come down to London, to the metropolis, and play Gillette Cup finals for you, we were always in the final, and we used to have to come down, cost us a fortune. And our chairman, after one win, a particularly good win in a Gillette Cup final at Lord's, took us to the Vauxhall Tavern. You know, I've never seen anything like it. I know we're into this PC age and so on, but I'm talking about the early 70s. And everybody, we all walked in, Lancashire Blazers, chairman's taking us down, really. Lancashire Blazers, collar and tie, into the Vauxhall Tavern. I'm saying nothing else.
How long did you stay?
About 10 minutes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We all love going to the Oval, which is probably why we always used to call it Colditz. But anyway, couldn't get out.
Well, here I'll tell you something very controversial. I think it's the best ground in London.
Oh, Bumble, that's a wonderful thing.
That's what they love to hear, don't they?
Best
ground with your heritage, Bumble, and your fine taste is a wonderful thing to hear.
I'll tell you what, because it's a people's ground.
Well, we try. We do try. So that's one thing I want to talk about, Bumble. As a pundit, you know, you're a real, you know, you've been on Sky pretty much since they started covering the game, done your time on Test Match Special as well, other things around the world. But one of the things you're most associated with on Sky is your T20. You know, you're really like the voice of the blast, the voice of domestic T20 cricket. Talk to us about what it's like for Sky to cover a sold-out 2020 night at the Oval. You've got 28,000 people there, the ground's rocking. How good is that from a broadcaster's perspective?
Well, it's terrific for everybody, I would say, that you get 20 or 25,000 or capacity grounds at these matches. And I've never wavered from 2003 when it came in. It's a bit of fun. It's entertainment. It's fun. Test matches are absolutely fantastic. It's the opera. Test matches are the opera. Fantastic. It can change hour to hour, minute to minute. T20 is full on entertainment. Anything goes. And I love it. You know, there's room for all aspects of cricket, as long as the administrators get it right, as long as they get it right. I'm not sure they are getting it right just at the minute, but to get the correct balance between Test match cricket going all the way down to this new competition that's coming in the 100, get the balance right, and there's something for everybody.
Well, I think I noticed about 5 minutes ago that Richard Gould joined the chat, the Surrey chief exec, Bumble. What would be, give us, and then Vic, same question to you once Bumble's answered. Give us your top 3 pointers you'd give to Richard Gould. He's on the professional game group. He's talking to the ECB, runs Surrey in the Oval. What are your top 3 pointers to Richard?
Well, I mentioned the balance of the game, and I'll try and be as brief as I can. So from a cricket lover, I'm going to look at it as a cricket lover. I'd like the county championship to be in 3 divisions, and each team plays 10 matches in the summer. I would like the 50 over competition to be a straight knockout play early season, including minor counties. I'd like the T20 Blast to reduce from 138 matches to 100. And I'd like the new 100 competition to come in and be a celebration, short, sharp celebration, families in, this, that, and the other. Make it a hoot, make it short and sharp. And I come back to that thing I've said, that the balance, there's got to be something for everybody in an English cricket season. Done.
Victor, what about you, sir?
Well, I'm on the same tack. I think I'm probably less enthused than Bumble about the 100.
Mm-hmm.
For me to go watch my local side, I have to go to another country, which doesn't cheer me up greatly. But, you know, I think I dislike the 100 even more than Surrey.
Wow.
You see, actually, I don't mind the 100 itself. I don't mind the format particularly, although I think it's a gimmick. But and this echoes a bit of what Bumble's saying, what I really fret about is the fact that basically during the prime months of June, July, and August, we are playing short form cricket with possibly a couple championship matches tossed in. Now, any young player with a brain is going to look at that fixture list and is going to look at the various rewards on show. And they're going to say, all I need to do is hit 40 off 20 balls, or possibly bowl 20 balls and go for less than 40. And I've made it. The emphasis, I think the balance of the domestic structure now with all the 3 prime months of the summer given over to short form cricket is dangerous. I think the current generation of cricketers, they still do treasure their test cricket. It's amazing. You talk to, you know, the Stokeses and the Butlers and the Roots, they love it, and Kohlis and many others. They really do treasure test cricket. But I worry about the next generation if we've got a structure here like that, because any young player will say, look, I've just got to be able to smack it over the boundary and not get hit for 6 too often when I bowl. So that's what really worries me about the 100. Or about the balance of a domestic season. Now that we've become just about the only country in the world with 2 short form competitions. And I also worry a bit about 50 over cricket. We are the world champions. It was an epic 2019. And you will find next summer that our best young cricketers will not play a single 50 over match ahead of the World Cup now in 2 or 3 years' time. They won't play a single 50 over match. And they won't do that for several years unless they play the odd 50 over match for the Lions. That doesn't make much sense to me either. Otherwise, everything's hunky-dory.
Here, Vic. We all agree with you.
Hello, Richard.
How are you?
I'm very happy down here in Tier 2, and I'm sure they'll let you back in at some point.
Yeah. I'm hoping that I can get back to Tier 2 at some stage.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. That was a fascinating treatise from both of you. Let's take it back a little bit more like heart now. Victor, we'll start with you this time. We talked about your memories of playing at the Oval against some of those great Surrey players who played alongside you and against you, and
more Surrey players
chatted to you and stuff. But let's look at your Test match special life and your time in the commentary box. Mm-hmm. You've commentated from high above the ground at both ends, I presume. Well, in the old one and the new box.
The new box is fantastic. In stark contrast to when I'm doing my written work down below in that dungeon, and I never leave the Oval or never forget to mention to Richard or possibly you that the Oval is the most improved ground in the world, except for the facilities for the written press. But I'm sure you've got it underhand. It doesn't worry me much nowadays because I won't be doing much more of that, I don't think. But it is. I mean, it has improved hugely, that Oval. It's like Lord's, actually. It is so much more a welcoming place than it probably was 20, 30, 40 years ago. And both Richard and his staff, and indeed at Lord's, they welcome you in now, which wasn't always the way.
Well, back in the day, but you must have I don't think you were quite on TMS in time, were you, for the famous leg over incident at the Oval in the
Well,
in the
I
early
was.
90s,
That was
but...
about 92, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I wasn't working. I wasn't working on that game, but I was at the Oval. I remember Aggers calling me in and said on the following morning, because no one knew what was happening so quickly in those days. He said, "Come and have a listen to this." And of course, for the first, I don't know, 90 seconds, not much happens. You know, why is he making me listen to this? And then suddenly, yeah, away went. That was almost Brian Johnson's. Of course, it's the Brian Johnston commentary box now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
that was almost his last year. And of course, as you all know, they both thought they made a terrible hash of it and they were in trouble. But of course, that wasn't quite the case. I went to one of Agnes's do's the other day. Well, a while back now. And to my amazement, I wondered how long it would be before he played the leg over. And in fact, he played it before he even entered the stage. So he played to an empty auditorium and everyone shut up and listened to it. I thought you might hang on a bit longer than that. But yeah, it stood the test of time, that one.
He knows what they want, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Bumble, obviously I was going to say the Skybox is a little bit less notoriously full of goodies than the TMS box, but actually when Mr. Botham was around, it wasn't, was it? How many pork pies do you reckon you've eaten at the Oval in recent times, Bumble?
Well, we get a consignment of pork pies where TMS gets some wonderful cakes, and we interchange. And of course, I take the pork pies with mustard down to the written press as well, and they're devoured down there. I thought they were athletes down there, but they've devoured these pork pies. So it's quite a tradition for people to send cakes in, predominantly to TMS, but we do get the odd cake, and we get these wonderful pork pies. I think it's Hill Dickinson. I think they're the ones that the Melton Mowbray pies, and they are absolutely magnificent. Victor's still there, and talking about Aggers and the leg over tape, I think I'm right. Matthew Engel was the Guardian, a wonderful writer, Matthew Engel. And going back to TMS, where I worked on TMS with Brian Johnson, Trevor Bailey, Christopher Martin Jenkins, Fred Truman. And Matthew Engel wrote a fantastic piece about Fred. And he said that Fred Truman surpassed his previous best of saying, "I really don't know what's going off out there." He said he mentioned it 11 times before the players had got onto the field.
Do you remember Bumble? Bumble will have worked with Neville Oliver, the Australian, who was just before Jim Maxwell.
Yes.
And maybe Neville wasn't quite so steeped in the game as Jim, but he was a very good broadcaster. And he was particularly good at winding up Fred. and he would do 20 minutes and then he'd go off. And so after he'd done about 19 and he's got Fred there, he said, Fred, this Darren Gough, I mean, he's a real bowler. He must be the quickest bowler England have had since Harold Larwood. Now, I'll leave that thought with you, Fred, and it'll be Christopher Martin Jenkins. And Fred, by then, is steaming with, the injustice of it all. And poor old CMJ, let's say, had to inherit this sort of fuming Truman next to it.
In reply to that, when Neville Oliver said about the fastest bowler, Darren Gough, Fred came back with, "I can bowl faster than that in my Macintosh and a pair of Wellingtons." and Neville Oliver, he was a real cad. I wrote his name down here. And you might remember, this is for everybody that's tuned into this. Don't do it now. But he sent a little clip to Aggers, and Aggers played it, and the commentary box, the TMS box, erupted when Aggers played this. Don't do it now, but when we've all finished, go to RHEEM Water Services recorded message. RHEEM Water Services recorded message. Neville Oliver sent that to us. It's about a minute and a half, 90 seconds long. And we were in tears as Agus played this in the DMS spot. Play it. Have a look at it. Play it. There's a bit of bad language in, so be careful.
I mean, the other wind-up that you'll remember, Bumble, I don't know, you must have been at Sky at the time by then, but was when Fred and Jack Bannister wound Agus up on the Edmiston roof.
I was TMS, Victor. I was in on it. Oh,
right. Well, it was a great success, I must say.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
And Fred, to be fair, Fred played, I think he knew what was going on. Yes, he played his part brilliantly.
He did.
Go on, Bumble. Tell us that one. Tell us that one, Bumble.
Well, it was when Agus had ambition to move into television. And Peter Baxter and company just set him up that he was having like a screen test for TV. And they were TV were going to record the
grandstand. It was going on grandstand.
That grandstand, that's it. And they were going to record his lunchtime piece with Jack Bannister and Fred Truman, but Jack and Fred were in on it. And Agus is coming on. And the first thing that the floor manager did, he said, we're on air in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And the floor manager hit him with a powder puff to get powder everywhere as he came on. He came on air and he's completely flustered. And every question that he asked to Jack Bannister and Fred, they just said yes and no. Oh, no.
Oh,
anyway, wonderful. That's wonderful. We talked. Yeah, you mentioned Fred Truman a lot those last 10 minutes or so. One of my favourite pieces that was written this summer during the lockdown was a piece that Victor wrote for the Guardian called "Jeffrey and Me." 4 decades with boycott on and off the field, and the opening line in the piece, Vic, was "This is not an obituary. There is a life after Test match special." So but Jeffrey is he's a unique character, isn't he? Tell us about your experience working with Jeffrey on again on out in the middle and up in the box.
Well, 2 things I spring to mind about Jeffrey from a personal level is one is I played my first game for England with Jeffrey. And Bumble actually was in the squad. I reckon this was the last time Bumble was picked. And the first time I was picked when Ian Botham was captain. And to our mutual amazement, we were both picked in the one-day team to play against the West Indies.
Yeah.
And you played in the first game. And I think you might have got injured. And I played in the second game. Anyway, in the second game at Lord's, Jeffrey, we won the match, actually. And Jeffrey got 70 or 80. And he was man of the match, chasing, 250 or something like that. And he played really well. He got out after about 35 overs, got his 80. They make the man of the match award, and the man of the match is awarded to Jeffrey Boycott. Clap, clap, clap. It's a bit like The Sound of Music, actually. No Jeffrey Boycott.
No.
To cut a long story short, Jeffrey, who has played extremely well, is already on the train to Middlesbrough at this point, where Yorkshire are playing Sussex the next day. So that was a bit of an eye-opener. But, an indication, too, of how dedicated he was. He got his runs, he packed his bag, he got to the station. At Test match, and of course he mellowed a bit, I suppose, on TMS. But I still have this memory of our current producer, I think, Adam Mountford. You can see him start to sweat buckets when Jeffrey starts a sentence with, they're lovely people, but, and then you go, oh no, where's he going to go now? But yeah, so I suppose we'll miss him. I don't suppose he'll come back, but I don't know. You never know with him.
You wrote in the piece, Vic, as well, that he was a prized wicket, and take us back to Weston-super-Mare.
Well, the short answer is stumped guard, bold marks. And he wasn't running down the wicket that far, but it was a nice little off break that was slightly leg side, Midland leg maybe, and he sort of tried to nurdle it on the leg side. He missed it. He fell over or overbalanced. Guard removed the bails. Wonderful, wonderful. And
Would you
always in that era, with apologies to Bumble, there were two wickets people remembered, I think, in county cricket. One was if you got Boycott, and the other was if you got Richards. You ask the sort of bowlers of that vintage, and they always remember when they played against Boycott, and they remember when they played against Richards. That cat's taste.
It's the other one now. Yeah, the other one has decided that she's woken up and decided she wants to participate as well. But I imagine, Victor, you got Richards in the nets plenty of times, right?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I never got Viv out. I played against him once or twice when he was playing for the West Indies, either in that game in Lords or when he played against Somerset. But no, I never got Richards out.
Johnny.
And I don't sure I got him out
Bumble.
in the net either. You got him out, did you?
I have to say at this stage, I got the pair of them.
Wow. Go on, Bumble. Tell the stories.
They're in my bag. Now,
Really?
Oh, yes. Richards and Boycott. Got Boycott more than once, by the way. So, getting back to Geoffrey, a fantastic broadcaster. In that he was unique. Nobody like him. Nobody like that. And he was compulsive listening because you either agreed or you disagreed. And, I'm really sad that he's not there because he was box office, in my opinion, and he could be outrageous, gregarious, rude at times, but a good listen, a really good listen, Geoffrey. And I've got to tell you, going back to Fred again, just let me leave this one with you. A chap kindly sent me 2 fantastic photos of Fred Truman in full flight, signed by Fred. 2 big pictures. And I went to Geoffrey and assured it, and I said, somebody sent me these, I've got these 2 pictures signed by Fred. He said, well, you don't need 2, do you? He said, you'll only need 1. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do for you. He said, you give me one of them, Fred, and I'll give you one of my plates. He said, they're bone china of these plates, and they've got me 100 hundreds all the way around them like they do on a plate. And there's a picture of me in the middle of it. He said, next match, he said, I'll swap you. Next match comes, I take it, he gives me the plate. Coalport plate. Nice. China plate. He gives me the plate, I give him the picture, and he walks off. He's got 15 yards away from me, and he turns round and he said, here, I want another word with you. And he came back to me. He said, that plate I've give you there, he said, it's only got 100 hundreds on. Don't forget, and I got another 52 after they made that plate.
That's very good. Bumble, I wanted to ask you, Victor had talked to us about Jamie Overton and mentioned Somerset. Lancashire, I want to talk to you about Lancashire, Bumble. What's going on up there now? There's seemingly some great stuff happening up in great cricketing stuff happening up in Manchester at the moment.
Well, it is. I mean, we're a world-class venue up at Old Trafford. They're a very well-run club, like Surrey County Cricket Club. They make a profit. They do it right. And, we're excited about the squad of players. It's always interesting when you're looking at a squad of players and sort of putting your coaches and managers' hat on. The team themselves decide the culture of how they want to be seen and how they want to play. And I think that we're heading in the right direction. We've got a couple of feisty customers in the team, but we've got some really good cricketers as well. The other thing that's worth mentioning is that both venues are world-class pitches. And so you actually play on test match pitches week in, week out. And I think that makes for better cricketers. It's that, going back to that, for the administrators to get the balance right. But a young cricketer, in my view, learns his trade. Ben Stokes, Joss Butler, they'll learn the trade in 4-day championship cricket. But if they're playing on really good pitches, that'll stand them in good stead for when they play test match cricket. And so, you know, I'm a Lancashire fan through and through. My wife, Diana, works at the club also, and we've got a strong affinity. And so, you know, county cricket, for me, is still number one domestically. And I just wish that, and Victor's alongside, it's a sad time when you could pick up the newspaper, the national newspapers, and you'd see a nice report, a good report about the county match that was going on. And sadly, that stopped. And I think that's a step in the wrong direction. Of course, there's the internet and so on that you can pick up on very quickly. But I might be old school, but I like to pick up a newspaper and read through it and get somebody's opinion, a learned opinion, as someone who's at the ground.
And just mirroring that, maybe I'm being over optimistic here, but after this amazing summer, in some ways a horrendous summer, somehow I feel cricket almost comes out stronger. I mean, the international matches against all the odds, I think worked really well. And that is in part because it was well done by Sky, and they did a terrific job. It was a much better product on telly than actually being there, I found, because when you were there, you saw the empty stands and the sort of ridiculous nature of it. But on television, it worked. And my impression is not only at that level, but down below, even though no one was actually going to these matches, the Bob Willis matches, that the interest was massive and that people were surprised. And the numbers of people surprised by how much they were missing it. Maybe all of them don't always turn up to championship matches, they can't. But I just felt that, curiously, cricket almost came out stronger after all the tribulations of not having any spectators there. I gather, I mean, you'll be able to tell me, and you'll be quick to do so, that Surrey have already sold out, you know, one or two of their international matches. People, I think, are really going to be hungry for cricket next summer. Because they have missed it more than they thought, and probably more people than we thought too. That's my hope, anyway.
Well, that's a wonderful thing to hear you say, Victor. Yeah, I can tell you. Yeah, we've sold out 5 of the 6 days of international cricket at the Oval next year. Yeah, for the first 4 days of the Test match and the one-day international against Sri Lanka all sold out. And I hope, you know, everyone on the call, all the members will have had their priority window, and I hope they've all got their tickets that they're looking for. Guys, we all want to know about Bumble. Go ahead, mate.
Just to add to what Victor said there, I've been around nigh on 60 years. I've never seen the game as vibrant. I'm forgetting COVID. Take COVID out of it. The game has never been as vibrant as it is now. If we go broadcasting overseas, these games are sold out. We're sold out in England in test match cricket. My own view, and it'll be a good debate, I think the players are out of sight. The skill of the players, the athleticism of male and female cricketers is out of sight. And that's what's making the game very, very vibrant. And of course, for broadcasters, it's a good product. It's a big, big product. And to get on to what happened this summer, from a production viewpoint, you know, they jumped through hoops to get that as an acceptable program, and they went far and beyond anything that's happened before. I thought they were outstanding to get the show on the road, and the players, and it's a players' game, players responded.
Well, I agree with that. And what was wonderful about it is that they're playing in this vacuum, but you watch them and their delight at succeeding or their dismay at failing. I mean, they cared. That's the great thing. They clearly cared. They weren't just sort of going through the routine. It mattered to whoever it was, Ben Stokes, Joss Butler, or the West Indians for that matter, who won. It mattered to them. And that showed. And that's why I think we all enjoyed it far more than we thought we would.
Yes. Yeah.
So, guys, one question I wanted to ask you, and just a quick one. So, all you guys on the thing. There's been bits and pieces in the chat, but if you do have anything, we're sort of drawing towards the close now. So, if you do have anything you wanted to ask, any burning questions for Victor or for Bumble, do get them there in the chat. I'll look out for them, and we can make sure that those questions are put. But one of the things that county cricketers, county cricket fans always and members always love to do is to be in the know and to be able to point out to someone who they're sitting next to, whatever. Yes, now I've heard of this young chap. He's going to be good. So Victor, one name or more if you like, but one name from Somerset who in the next 2 or 3 years is going to be scoring a lot of runs, taking a lot of wickets. And Bumble, same question to you at Lancashire.
Well, the obvious one at Somerset, whose name has just gone out of my head, but is the left-handed opening batsman.
Lammonby.
Thank you. Lammonby.
Good player.
I'll tell you, yeah, thank you. I'll tell you, he reminded me, Bumble, just a bit. He reminded me of a young Foxy.
Yes.
Just partly in his demeanour, the way he looks, the way he's so agile, and he's not quite orthodox, but he's sound. He's sound, and he's also quite exciting. So, I mean, in a sense, he's an easy answer, but he's only played 6 or 7 first-class games. He's got 2 hundreds, 2 damn good hundreds too in that time. And out of the blue, from the beginning of last season, he was a sort of promising youngster. He'll start 2021 as Somerset's opening batsman with people from the Lions keeping an eye on him, and that's in the space of 7 matches. So he is an easy choice, but a good one, I think.
And I wouldn't have told him that, Victor, because Surrey will be after signing him.
Well, it was the Surrey chief exec that remembered his name.
Yeah, he made his debut at the Oval in a T20 match.
Yeah. Well, he's from Exeter, which is just where I am. And actually, his dad was an Aussie who came over, about 40 years ago to play some club cricket in England like they often do, but he never returned. So there's a bit of Aussie in him, but none the worse for that. But you can't have, you just have to hang on a bit before you steal in, if that's all right, Richard. Just wait till we mature him a little bit more. He might be plenty rough around the edges yet before you snap him up.
We've got plenty of our own, but thank you.
Yeah. Bumble, same question at Lancashire. Who are we looking out for at Lancashire? Who's who's your eye on there?
Well, a quality bowler. He's a Test match bowler. He's Saqib Mahmood. He's a quality bowler, and he reminds me of Waqar Younis in his young days. He's got the ability to reverse swing the ball. He bowls at a really good pace. And a young lad who you won't know much about, but he's been playing middle order. He's a lad called Rob Jones. I think that he's got a good future. And I can tell you now, it doesn't matter. I've done a thing at one of these blogs or podcasts or something on awards for the year. And I've said that I'm going to play 100 Test matches award goes to Ollie Pope. I will play 100 Test matches. Now, he's a fabulous young cricketer, and, he's just had this injury, which has pushed him back a little bit, but he's a proper player.
Brilliant. No, thank that. Yeah, we all immensely proud of Popey and everything that he's capable of doing for Surrey. I've got a question here from John Wheeler, who emailed us in. Again, I'm going to ask it to both of you, and I will phrase it as John has written it. Okay, Bumble, you go first because you're on the screen at the minute. He says, imagine hauling yourself onto the beach of a desert island after a shipwreck and finding the only other survivor is someone who would make you turn around and head straight back into shark-infested waters. Who from the cricketing world would that person be and why?
Take your time, Bumble.
I'd have to. There's a name that came straight into my head, but I'm far too polite to blurt it out on here. Yeah. No, Pat. Well, I'm stumped there. I'm just too nice a bloke to come out with. I like everybody.
Nice. Yeah, you get it quite right.
Well, I'm not going to answer much better than that. I mean, it is peculiar that, and I think Bumble will agree with this, that within cricket, there's all sorts of rivalries, etc., etc. But you don't feel that there are many bad apples, if you like. That's how, I think that's how we feel about most of the pros. I've written a little bit that hasn't, I'm in my sort of study here, and there's a lot of cricket books that I've gathered over the years. You've written one or two of them, John. Bumble's written about half a dozen. And sometimes when I'm bored during lockdown, I kind of shuffle them around. So I sort of popped Jardine. There's a book on Jardine. I popped him next to Bradman just to keep them, or with Larwood on the other side of Bradman just to keep them happy. And I had Gower and Gooch together for a while, and then I had to agonize over who to put next door to KP. So I popped a Graham Swan book on one side. I can't remember. I didn't have Matt Pryor's books. I couldn't put that one there. So there are all these sort of rivalries, but the only one actually I decided after sort of going through all these things, the only ones that seem to just go on forever, and I suspect, like me, Bumble loves them both, essentially, is dear old Chappelli and my old mucker from Somerset, both, after 60-odd years, they're still not talking to one another. Their combined age now must be about 140.
Yeah.
And they're still not talking, and you feel that they should be made for one another.
They are absolutely perfect. The pair of them. It's like a soap opera when they're in a lift together or they pass each other. They talk to each other out the side of the mouth in one word. That's all. There's just one word out the side of the
which you can't repeat.
It's ridiculous.
I gather. I don't know whether you, but apparently they put them on Channel 9, together once.
Never spoke.
Never spoke, and the partnership was never revived.
No.
It's amazing, really, because Chappelli is a great player. I love Chappelli's company, and of course, I'm very, very fond of Ian.
Incredible. Okay, guys, final question. It's coming up to 7:30, and final question for you. I'm going to ask you for 3 predictions. In fact, I'm going to ask you for 4 predictions over some of the games, some of the cricket that's going to be taking place over the next 12 months or so. So I want a prediction of and a series result for the England series in India. I want a prediction for the World T20. I want the county champions, and I want the winners of the T20 Blast. Who wants to take that one first?
Well, I'll go. I think India will beat England. You don't get many draws now, so I'll have to say they're playing a night match, aren't they, in Ahmedabad?
Yeah, in a 110,000-seater stadium.
Empty though. So I'll go 3-1 India. I'm afraid it's not very often we win there.
Okay, World T20.
100 because I really can't remember their names.
Give us a brand of crisp that you think will do best in the 100.
I don't know. County champions. Well, I think Surrey, of course, we don't have relegation this year, do we?
No.
So that's a relief.
A relief for us all.
I don't know. I've got to say Somerset, but Somerset have got a chance. They have got a chance, but they've always got a chance. T20. Well, the T20 World Championship. I quite fancy England, but I don't fancy them quite so much in India as I would have done in Australia. But they've got a good chance. I might go England because they are used to winning. They win from some very strange places, which is always a good sign.
True that.
As for the Blast, well, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. But I hope it's someone like Leicestershire, Northamptonshire, or Derby.
Not
Right,
forgetting
Bumble.
Durham.
Yeah.
Bumble, you're up.
India to beat England in the Test series. T20, if it goes ahead in India, there must be crackers going. They must be absolutely barking mad. I mean, the Prime Minister has said they cannot beat COVID. Just let it take its course. Wouldn't be going anywhere near the place. So India to beat England in the Test. T20 winners, world, sadly India. T20 blast, it's nailed on. Lancashire will win that. Absolutely nailed on. And Championship, I can't see beyond Essex. I think they're a good all-round side, but they might just lose Dan Lawrence.
Yeah. Well, interesting stuff, and we all look forward hugely to seeing whether those predictions come true or not. So, guys, thank you very, very much indeed for giving us your time. Bumble, just if anyone's still got a little bit of late Christmas shopping to do, Bumble has a book. It's called Simply the Best, and when this talk is posted on the Surrey website tomorrow morning, we'll be putting a link underneath it. Lovely independent bookshop. Bumble, you signed a bunch of copies, and you can, if you buy it before the 18th of December, you can buy a signed copy of Bumble's book, Simply the Best, and that'll get to you before Christmas, or get to whoever you want to send it to before Christmas. The link for that will be on the Surrey website tomorrow. And if you'd like to cut a Victor's jib, he's got a wonderful book called Original Spin. Came out last year. There's got some amazing tales in that. And if you're feeling a little bit sleepy under the on Boxing Day, and you've got a copy of that in your hand, you will not go unentertained. So that thank you very much, guys. Bumble has you've got your hand up.
Yeah, well, I just thanks for that plug, Johnny, and to everybody. Dig deep if you can, because I'm a pensioner here. Times are hard. Yeah,
Are you scheduled for your jab yet, Bumble? Are you scheduled for your vaccination?
I think I'm.
You must have had your jab already, Bumble.
No. I think I'm third or fourth in line, and I'll be there. I've not March. I've not been out since March. It's horrendous, rubbish.
Well, there we go, guys. Thank you very much. As I say, the books are available. I'm sure Bumble's going to be on Sky Cricket a lot over the next few months. I'm sure there'll be best of the years and that sort of thing. So you'll be able to get your fill of Bumble, and obviously Vic will continue coming out with erudite thoughts on the game in the Guardian and the Observer, hopefully for a great many years to come. But guys, thank you very much.
I don't think so, actually, but I don't think that's the case. But don't worry about that.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Stay safe.
Merry
And
Christmas,
you, Bumble,
guys.
and the rest of you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much indeed, guys. Take care. Have
Bye-bye.
a great evening.
Cheers, then.